Want to do this?
Yeah, man. Action movies.
All right, let's go. Let's go into action movies. So, all right. So we're talking favorite action movies. Basically, our favorite action movies. We want to break it off by decades. I guess 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. I wanted to start off talking about like some of the main guys we grew up with. Some of like the nostalgia factor.
Yeah, Jean-Claude,
Arnold, Stallone. And
Steven Seagal for me, because my dad was a big fan of Steven Seagal, and I always loved like his little like T-Rex run or whatever when he sprints, which is funny because like if you Google like Steven Seagal running is one of them that comes up, so I'm not the only person that thinks he runs like a T-Rex.
Oh, really? Okay, so between him and Tom Cruise, who would win in a race? You think?
Ooh, that's tough. Like Steven Seagal now would lose.
Oh,
that dude's like massive, but back in the day, he was in good shape, man. He was.
I mean, I remember him in Exit Wounds. He defied gravity. So let's talk about, I guess, Arnold first. Some of our favorite Arnold films. Some of our favorite, like, most rewatchable Arnold films, I guess. So what would be some for you?
Start off with Commando, of course, which I think everyone who's an action movie guy has had to see this movie. Is 85, I think, right?
Yeah, 85. Yeah. So Commando for me too. I own it on DVD. It was like one of the first DVDs
I think I still do somewhere.
Yeah, and it's it's basically the original, I guess, like, John Wick is kind of it's the 80s John Wick pretty much. Yeah. Where, someone kidnaps, Alyssa Milano, who's like 6 years old in this.
Which is weird seeing it as an adult, because I'm like, I feel like I like watched Charmed in my teens, and I was like, oh man, she's kind of hot.
Yeah.
And then you watch Commando again, and it's like.
And she's like protesting the Me Too movement. So it's kind of.
Wait, which not a laughing matter, but sorry.
No, but it's at the same time, it's, it's interesting. So in that movie, Arnold just basically kills the whole country, I think, to save her, which is an awesome scene.
Yeah.
It's basically him versus an army, and it ends with him throwing a pipe through Bennett.
Yeah, that beginning scene, or part of it, is on our Instagram, so check it out, courtesy of us.
Check it. So any other Arnold films?
So I got Commando, Predator. I didn't write the year, but Predator I just have fond memories of, because
I feel like anyone that we don't even need to explain Predator.
Yeah, I actually saw it. I think 2 or 3 months ago when I went to Iceland. It was on the plane, and I was like, I forget, and we'll get into that too later. But like, there were like a bunch of decent modern movies, and I saw Predator. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this instead.
I don't blame you. I mean, that's definitely a great action film. But Terminator 2, you think?
It was good. Like,
I have that like mentioned as one of my favorites, but you want to hear like 2 of my oddly favorite ones of his?
Okay.
So this one's like Last Action Hero. I think to me was probably, at least for me.
The kid gets like his
the
toy
movie ticket,
and
no, that's another one I have. Jingle All the Way.
Yeah. Okay.
So those two, Jingle All the Way is like the Christmas movie with Sinbad.
Last Action Hero is the one in the theater.
In the movie, and he's basically plays like someone who's like trapped in the movie theater, and then he comes out, and the bad guy in it is Lannister from Game of Thrones. So he's got like the glass eye. Yeah. That to me was like one of my favorite Arnold films.
It's and that was like definitely part of the difficulty for this podcast. Just like as I go through like these lists, I'm like, oh, that's a good movie. Oh, that's a good movie. Oh, that's a good movie. So I try to have the get specific in a sense, but
and I also have Running Man also, but
nice.
That one, a little off the, I guess Predator was probably Terminator, what he's known for, but like Running Man, Last Action Hero, Jingle All the Way,
Kindergarten Cop,
1990. Yeah, he's just in so many good films. So should we move on to Jean-Claude or
which is
or Stallone or whoever?
Jean-Claude. The one that like got me introduced to him was definitely Bloodsport.
Bloodsport, yeah.
The Kumite or whatever. That's just like a classic, like, and even now it kind of holds up pretty well, which another thing we'll talk about. But like, it introduced me to like this guy who looks like he can kick a bunch of ass, and then he's fighting in this like blood sport arena for like this.
Is that tournament. Does he get blind in that one at the end or something?
I don't think
I forget,
so.
or is that kickboxer? I forget. He gets like
I don't know. I think someone does get blinded though.
He gets like blinded for the fight or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, he does. I think
it kind of like bleeds together. That and kickboxer a little bit.
Then he has this big like generic like white friend, and it's like the massive guy who's like crushing beer cans and like bricks and stuff.
So in Bloodsport, that guy Bolo, like he's like the main like. He's like that big, like Asian dude with like the messed up eyes.
Oh yeah, like the like huge pecs or whatever.
Yeah. So actually, he's in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, 1970s.
Oh yeah, he doesn't he fight him in when he goes to the island?
Yeah. So like, it's kind of cool to see because like Enter the Dragon, that's a 70s film, was one like I probably saw a million times as a kid.
Yeah.
But I have not seen in like 20 years. But it's kind of cool that like Bolo. From like actually like is like in I think Enter Dragon was 73 and then now he's like Bloodsport like 16 years later and he still is in amazing shape.
It's funny too because like that like Enter the Dragon like that's a movie I've seen on and I'm like I'm good, but I have fond memories. Like every kid wanted to be like Bruce Lee
and fight in a mirror room getting bear clawed
like, against Vega and shit.
So for me Jean-Claude, I think Bloodsport. I guess kickboxer.
But then like after
some of the future ones I like though. The 90s I thought he was actually a little sneaky good.
Yeah, I know he had like Lionheart, which was pretty much Bloodsport. It was the same thing. It's just like now he was in the military, or unless Bloodsport was that.
And
but anyway, whatever.
Yeah, I liked Universal Soldier, where he was like a cyborg.
Was that one with Dolph Lundgren yet or no?
I forget. I don't even remember who's in it. But
we're not going for accuracy.
We're not going. No. And Sudden Death. Was good.
Yeah.
Which I saw they're remaking that with so this is interesting. So they're remaking Sudden Death with Michael J. White as the lead.
Okay.
But it takes place in a basketball game. Which doesn't make any sense because it's called Sudden Death, which is, like related to hockey.
Yeah.
So I feel like the movie should be called Overtime. But
maybe that was taken.
Yeah, maybe. All right. So Stallone, anything for you for Stallone or I mean, he's been in so many like Rambos and all that. I would have
to say Rambo. Wasn't he? Was that Demolition Man?
That one is the only one I have written for him.
Really?
Wesley Snipes.
Because when I think about it, and I looked at the list, I'm like, I didn't really like anything besides like Rambo, Demolition Man. I think he had another like generic movie in that vein,
Cobra and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, but like I didn't really. I don't know. I'm definitely more of an Arnold fan.
Me too. I felt the same way. Like when I was ranking this, I'm just like, I felt like Stallone was almost like the B, and Arnold was the A at the time.
Yeah. That's probably why I don't like each other.
Yeah, and it was like every action movie I want to see, I just want to see Arnold films as a kid. Yeah, because he was bigger.
Yeah.
Stallone.
Stallone's like 5'5" or something.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing in Stallone films. He looks like Jack. I mean, he is Jack.
Well, he is Jack. Yeah.
But then when he's standing next to like someone bigger than him, you realize how small he actually is. Like in Rocky, when he was next to like Hulk Hogan, he was like the size of like Hogan's like bicep. But
it's true though. It's like you watch, especially growing up, like you watch an Arnold movie and you're like, yo, this guy's awesome. He's massive. He's just like blah, blah, blah. And like he's either killing someone with a sword, killing someone with his hands, killing someone with a knife, killing someone with a pipe. Like it just doesn't.
And it's
matter.
funny because like he doesn't. It's not like he used like martial arts. Like all of his like fighting was just like pure brute strength. Like in Commando, he picks up the phone booth with the guy in it, and he just like body slams. And then like
in the mall scene before that, it's like all the cops like jump on him, and he's just like, and then like everyone falls away. But yeah, so
it's definitely So I'm kind of funny. It's kind of funny that we both said Demolition Man, which was 90s.
Wesley Snipes good though.
But Wesley Snipes good. So
he doesn't deserve his own category. I don't think it.
So you want to do 80s action movies?
I think like most of my movies are 80s.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to start it off?
So I got Police Story with Jackie Chan.
Police Story.
Because that was the movie that like introduced me to Jackie Chan. Because I never like, I didn't like watch at least growing up. Like I didn't watch like movies with Asian, because I think it was like originally in, I guess, Chinese. I don't know what language it was, but I saw it subtitled, and originally I was like, like it looks okay, and then like I don't know, I saw this guy like kicking people in the face, and like that beginning scene where they're like running through alleyways, and it's like really like you watch it now, because I tried to rewatch a part of it, and it looks awful, but it's like a lot of like and like they're using like the 6 shooters, and then like he does his like Jackie Chan stunts, and they look real because they are real, because they said like that was like his breakout like you know, he's getting kicked in the face.
I don't think I've ever seen that. No, I gotta watch it.
You probably go without it.
Yeah. Right. You know, for me, the first Jackie Chan like movie I really, really liked was probably Rumble in the Bronx, but that was '90s. But
that was good.
That
too,
one was like
all the Asian
I saw that
gangs
one like 100 times, and that one same thing. I think it was filmed in China.
Yeah.
It had like the weird like American dub, like
which is pretty good sometimes. It makes it more entertaining. I have Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, with Kurt Russell. And that one, I think they remade it, or are they remaking it?
I didn't watch it.
That's a classic. Yeah,
that was good just because like I just remember it being like a really big movie with a lot going on, and then I look at it now and it's like an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm like, wait, how's that possible?
Like you remember being like a 6-hour like journey through space and time.
But yeah, what about you? What else you got?
So I wrote down pretty much 2 of them, which I mean, looking at it, I felt like they're more action comedies. So but they're kind of like mainstream hits. They're not. Well, I mean, I guess Big Trouble in Little China is mainstream, but I had Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, as like one of my favorite, like I guess, action movies.
Which, by the way, when you rewatch that movie, the whole interaction with him and I forget her name, the chick from Alien, Seagal, whatever.
Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. That whole interaction is like pretty uncomfortable because it's very
he's like hitting on her the whole time.
Yeah, and then he's like going into an apartment and be like, "Hey, what's up? You want to like, you know, get busy?" And it's like yeah, you look at it now, like if that movie was released with that same like script now, there'd be like outrage everywhere.
Yeah. And so that one I like. I mean, they had the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the end, and they introduced like Slimer. You know, which, you know, he's big in the cartoon. So, like, as a kid, you see Slimer running through the halls and, like, causing, like, trouble, which was, like, it was awesome. I mean, that movie came out in 84, which is before I was born, but that's fine. One of my other favorite ones was Back to the Future 2. So that's the one where, you know, Biff, which is, like, everyone's Biff. Dream. Basically, since I saw it, he steals, like, the sports almanac from the future and he gives it to his younger self. And he basically becomes rich because he knows all the outcomes of all the sporting. And it also has that like epic hoverboard action scene with Michael J. Fox. You know, so I think those 2 for me were like whenever. Actually, I saw Ghostbusters like a week ago. Yeah, it was on I was on my Sling, and I was like, I'm watching this.
Really? Yeah, I feel like I forget why I watched it, but I'm like, it's on. I think it might have been on the plane actually too. To Iceland.
It's a perfect like background movie.
Yeah, but that whole like beginning thing was like, I was like, oh man, this is like kind of uncomfortable, like, but it's still entertaining, and that was like, you know, we grew up with that stuff, so it's cool.
So you want to move to the 90s?
90s, I got a big
big list.
So
you know, for us, since